Robbie, welcome to our podcast. How you
Thanks,
going?
James. Good.
Good. So, guys, I'd just like to introduce you to Rob. He's the national consultant for Forspec. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. I'm Rob. Been working for Forspec for the last 12 months. I've got a full builder's licence in New South Wales and did 20 odd years in the waterproofing, tiling and stone facades in New South Wales and Queensland, Northern Territory and WA. So I've
it's not your first rodeo.
sort of been all over the shop.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, what we brought you in today, Rob, because we know you're the master of a few things that we'll get into the topic for soon.
It's a big claim, mate. Big claim.
All right, but what we're going to talk about today, so the industry's, we're getting to a bit of problems with compatibility and material types, compatibility with adhesives, compatibility with a lot of things. And I just wanted to get your knowledge, your expert knowledge on what the industry is doing, where it's going, and what we should do about it. The compatibility between membranes and glues. What's your take on it at the moment?
Okay, so look, there's the Australian standards out there for both waterproofing and tiling. And then there's the ISO standard, which is ISO 13007, which is 6 parts. So the first 2 parts is about adhesive. Parts 1 and 2, parts 3 and 4 is grouts. Part 5 is liquid membranes, and part 6 is sheet membranes. To shorten all that and avoid confusion, it's really all about compatibility, ensuring that the system is compatible. And this is, I think, where we go wrong on the job sites, and whether it starts from the architect or the engineer specifying, it really should be system specifications. So the manufacturer of you can go all the way back to floor levelling, patching and repair, should be then the following from that the waterproofing should be the same manufacturer.
Definitely.
And then from that, the adhesive going on to the waterproofing should again be the same manufacturer. So
Even
that
the
way, and the screeds, screeds, very important, should all be a system. And that's the best way. With the screeds, though, we've got a normal sand and cement screeds, but I think the industry now, for a number of reasons, is going towards engineered screeds for strength and also for the rapid hydration. So on a typical 50mm thick screed with a sand and cement, you're typically waiting 14 odd days for that screed to properly cure before you can go onto it. We know that doesn't happen in the industry, hence that's one of the biggest problems out there. But by introducing an engineered screed with that rapid hydration, typically 24 hours later, you're looking at 4% or roundabout.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. You can start your waterproofing, tiling, whatever is going over the top, because it's hydrated.
Okay. On that topic, you were telling me the other day there was a schmozzle of a job. I think it was Western Sydney.
Yeah,
in Western Sydney.
yeah. Look, it was a private house. It's a high end. It's a multi-million-dollar job, and without naming names, but anyway, the builder had used a solvent-based polyurethane membrane on the substrate floor, turned it up 150mm, and then used a modified polyurethane on the wall. Now, the problem with that, when the tiler came and screeded, there was 20 to, say, 40mm of screed. Now, because it's solvent-based polyurethane membrane, it's classed as an unbonded screed. Nothing sticks to solvent-based poly, which is one of my biggest bugbears in the industry. And one of my number one phone calls is, what sticks to solvent-based poly? Well, I hate to say it, the answer is nothing. So on that particular project, because it was unbonded and it was only 20 mil to 40 mil. It had herringbone Carrara marble over the top, so we're talking rather expensive products over the top, and within 2 years it had all cracked through to so the screed had cracked because it hadn't bonded, and then the tiles had cracked, the herringbone tiling.
So at the actual screed height, the 20 mil, the minimum height thickness, correct me if I'm wrong, is 40 mil?
Correct. On an unbonded screed, it should be 40 mil at the lowest point, which is going to be around your puddle flange.
Yeah, so by the time they get to the door, they're at 60 or 70.
Yeah, that's right. And they just didn't have the heights.
And which area was the problem? Was the upturn height or the herringbone cracked because of the screed? The herringbone delaminated because of the screed?
It delaminated because of the screed. So the whole floor, and these, because it was a high-end job, these were very large bathrooms. They were like 4 metres by 5 metres.
Oh, well, yeah.
So they were a decent size. They only had the one floor waist. So, by the time you go from the door to the floor waist, it could have been 2.5, 3 metres. So that means, when the falls were 1 in 100, that's 10 mil for every 1 metre. So you're looking at 30 mil fall.
Yeah,
so
you
massive. Just didn't have that. So the whole floor just cracked.
I don't think many people know about that screed rule as well. So they go in just doing a bath and they do their normal screed heights, not thinking of the membrane and the bonded or unbonded. I think that's a big problem at the moment.
It's a massive problem, and I'm very big, and that's why I'm here with Forspec. I came on with you guys because you're very focused on the training and education side of things. Sure, it's all about making money, but I'm a big believer in training and education. And if you can do that education out there, and you have clients that are comfortable in dealing with you, the sales will come from that.
100%.
So that's how I treat it. I don't, and I appreciate you. You're not putting sales targets on me or anything. I've got to sell 10 pallets, 20 pallets a week or a day or whatever. It's all about relationship building,
Yeah,
and that's long term.
That's how it starts.
Yeah,
I think that's what we built off as well.
Exactly. So I've over the 45 years that I've been in the building industry, I've got a lot of contacts, a lot of relationships. They know who I am. What you see is what you get, and it works.
Yeah,
it works. So they trust in what I'm saying and what I'm presenting to them.
Going still on that topic, how are we going to convince and how are we going to let everyone know that solvent-based poly in bathrooms is not the way to go? Because I got brought up on solvent-based bathrooms.
Yeah.
My old man used to make me roll up floor and wall.
Yeah, I know.
He used to make us put it on our hands, xylene everywhere. Used to eat it, put it on our eyebrows, get stuck in our hair. So I was always solvent-based poly up until a couple of years ago, until job sites started bringing up the defects that were coming up. So everyone's saying, okay, the upturn is solvent-based poly, it's not compliant, but everyone's saying if they've got a 600 by 300 tile, that tile's not going to pop off. Yeah, that might be true, but what about when they've got that tic-tac tiles, or the Kit Kat tiles?
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the jobs they've just peeled off, so you're going to have to go around, remove all those tiles that are popped off, grind all that membrane off around the perimeter, explain to the waterproofer that you can't use it, which is almost impossible because they've been using it for 20 years.
And just remember, when you're grinding off, you really require 100 mil lap onto the existing membrane. So where do you stop and start?
Yeah.
So look, I think with the new Australian standards for materials testing in 4858, as I said earlier, ISO 13007, so we're one of the 165 countries that have signed up to ISO standards, and that's all about, in this particular standard, is building better worldwide. So our Australian standards for both waterproofing and tiling refer to the ISO 13007, and that's how we get our for a tile adhesive, a C2 TES1. All of that is stated and the testing requirements is stated in the ISO 13007. So
now we're adapting ISO, correct?
we've adapted it a number of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's always been referenced in the Australian standards, but it was only referenced as exactly that, ISO 13007.
Okay.
So it was never expanded, so people never went down the rabbit hole to understand what that terminology meant. So that's where it stopped. So now with the new standard, 3740, 2021, ISO 13007 has been referenced in Annexure E of that document. So, you know, the standard is actually starting to talk, it's expanding on what ISO 13007 is. Now, I mentioned a minute ago the new standard for materials testing. That should be out shortly. And what that is focusing more on compatibility and the compatibility of adhesives bonding to the membrane. So what they're going to be requiring for a waterproof membrane to be used in an under-tile situation, it has to pass the adhesive test, which is either a C1 or C2 adhesive without any primers, bonded to the membrane, and it has to then achieve a 0.5 of a Newton pull-off. If it doesn't achieve that, it cannot be used in an under-tile situation. So
what does that mean for poly?
Well, that's it. Solvent-based polys will not be allowed to be used in an under-tile situation unless, God forbid, a manufacturer comes up with an adhesive that does pass the 0.5 of a Newton pull-off. I'll stand corrected, but I don't think really that that
we're
exists.
pretty hard. We're pretty hard.
As I said, nothing bonds to solvent-based poly.
So AS 3740 is now referencing ISO 13007, and in that ISO 13007, ISO 13007.2, which is the testing
For adhesives.
And then ISO 13007.5 is the bond strength test.
Yes, it will be.
From waterproofing membrane to tile adhesive.
To the tile adhesive.
And if it passes, you can use it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pass, you can't use it.
Yep.
Basically.
So look, you know, in previous situations, the manufacturers of solvent-based polys trying to sell their product, they're all fully aware of the issue, and most of them reference it in their data sheets. But some of them talk about sand seeding. You get the polymer migration; it actually pushes off the sand. So you know, it mightn't happen in 6 months, it mightn't happen in 2 years, but it will eventually happen, and this is the problem. You know.
No one's got testing data for that.
No, that's right. And what's the longevity of a building? You know, longevity is 50 years, 100 years of buildings. Now, if the membrane's not going to last that, we've got problems. So it's all about doing it once and doing it properly.
Yeah, do it once, do it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how so with what's just been talked about, how has Forspec introduced these new standards with their membranes together? So we've come a long way. Forspec's come a long way, and now they've gone that additional way to test for those tests that we just spoke about.
Yeah. So
what does that mean, and what exactly does it give us?
That means an awful lot. Yeah. And I love the fact that you've taken the initiative. And I know, yes, there's a huge cost to what you've done. And I don't believe many other manufacturers, or if any other manufacturers, have gone and got NATA testing done. I believe most manufacturers rely on their own in-house testing. So hats off to you for doing that. So you've gone and got the adhesive tested to NATA requirements. And then what you've also done is gone and got the adhesive test to the membrane, again, to the NATA requirements, which obviously relates back to ISO 13007. So mate, kudos to you for actually doing that.
Yeah.
And so what that means to the market is you can go to the architects, engineers, and to the builders in the market, and you can provide a full system. So if anything, God forbid, does go wrong at any time in typically that 10 years now under the DPP, there's only one company that's in the firing line, and it's going to be Forspec. Whereas, a lot of the specs these days might be one brand's membrane, a different brand's adhesive, and a different brand's grout. And we can even go back to the engineered screeds or screeds. We can even go further back to the floor toppings and patching compounds. And unless it's the whole system, that's right. It
doesn't stop.
Where does it start and stop? It's continuous. So unless you've got a complete system, you're leaving yourself. And when I say you're leaving yourself, I'm talking to the builders out there, because let's face it, a lot of these manufacturers do walk away from it as soon as they know that there's another manufacturer that's gone over their product. They say, oh, no problems, we've got a problem, there's a compatibility issue. So they walk away, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's the builder that's left holding the bag. They haven't done it properly. They haven't done their due diligence, and it costs a lot of money to come back, especially when you're talking waterproofing membranes. It's something that in the industry that's not seen, and hasn't been given the due care that it is required. So if you've got a waterproofing membrane that's failed, you have to remove all your tiles, screed, everything that's there, all the way back to the membrane. 9 times out of 10, you'll have to remove the entire membrane, and by doing that, you're damaging. If you've got some
starting from scratch again.
Yeah, you are. And I'm talking you're pulling down walls, gyprock sheet walls or FC sheet walls, depending on how good the glue and the membrane has adhered to it. You're pulling that apart as well, so you can go back to bare studs on walls, and you're starting again. And there's a huge cost to that.
I think people are confused because we're not saying that a tile adhesive doesn't stick to, example, our cementitious membranes. And we're not saying that our cementitious membranes won't work on another brand's
Absolutely not.
leveling. We're not saying that. But what we're saying is people are using those different brands. Every brand has a different mixing ratio. Every brand has a different method. They're very similar, but there might be small tweaks. But there's been a lot of times where leveling has popped, the membrane hasn't stuck to it because of the right primer wasn't used.
Yep.
If you're following a system from leveling to membrane to tile adhesive, that specification has been written. They give you the times, when to apply the primers, what primer to use, when to apply the tile adhesive, all of that kind of stuff follows that spec. So I think that's the difference between choosing random brands with random membranes. So everything ties in together. I think that's the key point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am about systems and trying to reduce the risk. But look, other competitors' membranes and or products in general are compatible if they have been produced in accordance with ISO 13007. They should be compatible. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, you can have, call it intermixing between manufacturers' products. And I will say horses for courses. Some manufacturers make maybe a better engineered screed than the manufacturer that's providing the membrane. Or it might be easier to work with. The contractors have their own take on different products. So, look, that will always continue to happen, the mixing and matching of different manufacturers' products. It is all about ensuring that they meet and comply with the ISO 13007 and the relevant Australian standards. They should be fine.
All right, Robbie, so talking about all this ISO and compatibility and all the bullshit that comes along with it, what's your favourite product at the moment? because I know you're a cementitious all in through.
Okay, you got me now.
So is it the water-based poly or is it the cementitious at the moment? Because they're pretty much head-to-head at the moment in the market.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a contractor's perspective. As a contractor in 20 years of contracting waterproofing tiling, as I said earlier, I always, on the horizontal, I always used a tanking membrane. Mm-hmm. So in saying that, tanking membranes are typically cementitious membranes. Now,
like 989, Acflex 988.
Like 988 and 989 that we've got. Now, a tanking membrane is exactly that in the wording. It's fine for water tanks, obviously swimming pools and those environments. Mm-hmm. So it will not re-emulsify like a modified poly can.
Yep.
Okay, so the other benefit that you get, there's a number of benefits that you get with cementitious. So it's a tanking membrane. It's a positive, negative. The other thing, if it's rained on the night before and the balcony's wet, all you're doing is sweeping off the water. As long as you've got no standing or ponding water, you can apply a cementitious membrane. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes, I believe, that membrane so good. Now, in saying all of that, what Forspec has now got is the Forspec 989, which is, I believe, the holy grail of membranes. It is an absolute game changer. It's a cementitious. As I said, it's a tanking membrane, positive, negative, but it is a class 3. So
it's definitely taken over.
That's why I say it's the holy
bypassed
grail.
all the poly. We used to be all poly cells.
I know you did.
It's bypassed all the poly. It bypassed the water base.
Yep.
It's definitely the number one at the moment. It's getting spec'd everywhere at the moment, or especially internal. Definitely getting spec'd internal at the moment.
Yeah, as I said, look, it's cementitious tanking solvent modified poly is a good membrane, but is not as good, and it can possibly re-emulsify, unlike the cementitious. So there's just, as I said, so many advantages of the cementitious over all the other membranes on the market. So I'm losing my way now.
and then now also that Acflex 989 has the testing with Acflex Bioset tile adhesive. Number one, the tile adhesive has its own testing from the NATA accredited lab. And now the bond strength test between the tile adhesive and 989 has been done.
You'll always get a superior bond strength onto any cementitious
100%.
from the adhesive.
Yep.
The other advantage of the cementitious, it is cement-based. So anything cement-based you can adhere to, whether it be render, whether it be paint, and obviously tile adhesives. So everything will go over the top of it. Not everything goes over the top of the modified poly. And as I said previously, really nothing goes over the top of solvent-based polys. So that's why the cementitious is such a standout product. But the 989 being a class 3, obviously you can get away with a 12mm fillet internally, a 15mm fillet externally. Yep. You don't have to go to tapes or bandages like you do with a class 1 or class 2.
I'm a bandage man, all through with cementitious.
I'll always say bandage is best practice.
Yep.
The rest of the world does bandage. We cut corners.
Yeah.
But bandage absolutely is always best practice.
But you can use MS.
You can use our MS, the Acflex MS, and that complies with both the ISO and Australian standards. Absolutely.
Coming off the membranes, Rob, obviously we've achieved what we've achieved with testing and the new cementitious membrane. How have you seen Forspec grow into the industry, becoming a national-wide brand now? Because we're in a few distributors across Australia at the moment.
Yeah, look, I've got to say that my year with Forspec has been extremely enjoyable, yet challenging, because it's certainly not as well known on the market as others. But what we have now, since I've come on, we have floor levelling, concrete repair, patching compounds, engineered screeds, a massive range of waterproofing products, including recent additions being torch-on membranes, 3 different types, and a PVC membrane for the roofs and etc. So, and now, which was happened this week, has been the addition of our first tile adhesive, which is the BioSet. And as I said previously, not only have we brought all that on board, you have done all the testing requirements for that to be able to be sold on the Australian market far in advance than any other manufacturer that I know.
Yeah, it doesn't get released until we get that accreditation from NATA.
Yeah,
I think results.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I honestly do, and it makes my job in promoting it so much easier because we actually have all of the testing, NATA accredited testing done here in Australia.
100%.
So that's a massive selling point.
So how do you see us growing into the market across Australia? Where's our main? I think we've hit Queensland pretty big at the moment. We're trying to get into the Queensland market. We've got I think 10 distributors at the moment, roughly.
Yeah, look, we've got about 10. Always room for growth right around Australia. Obviously, Sydney's rocking and rolling.
Yep.
But Queensland is a market, I believe, for us, it's an untapped market, and especially the fact that 2032, we've got the Olympics in Queensland. And if you go up there, there is tower cranes everywhere.
It's buzzing.
Up through from, everywhere from Tweed Heads all the way through to the top of the Sunshine Coast. There is just building work going on everywhere. So I think that's a massive untapped market for us. The other thing in saying that, because of the humidity up in Queensland, you're not using carpets, you're typically using tile and timber for your floor coverings.
Yes.
So, yeah, massive market for us. About to jump on a plane shortly to go to Melbourne. So we're opening the Melbourne market up as well. Again, another very big market. So, but Australia it's a big market. It's a very big country to get around.
Very brand new market.
Yeah,
still baby compared to the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And with, as I said earlier, with the changing of the materials testing, 4858, that just helps our products, because we are keeping up to date with all the testing and ensuring that we've got all the relevant testing with that. So yeah.
No, thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. That's going to be the end of the podcast. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate everything.
Thanks,
good luck
James.
in Melbourne.
Cheers, mate.
Make some
Thank
money.
you. No problem.